The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. It's yet another edition of The Big Issue. As usual, I'm your regular host, George Jack by the name. And with me here in the studio are our in-house analysts, Silas Ezewu.
You're welcome.
And of course, we have a special guest here. And of course, our special guest is actually going to feature on the big issue when it has to do with political matters. But before we go into the big issue and unveil our special guest, let's look at certain political happenings in the country. The major one was yesterday when former governor of Kano State, Ibrahim Shekaru, formally announced his defection from the New Nigeria People's Party back to the People's Democratic Party. Shekaru defected from the PDP 3 months after he left the APC to the opposition party. And of course, the reason for his defection was that he was not going to be a party to injustice. Shekaru's grouse was that his followers, his supporters who defected with him to the NNPP from the APC were not carried along. Although Shekaru was given the APC tickets for Kano North Central, not of the party, but he was not satisfied that most of his supporters who defected to the party were never given a chance to contest under the party's platform. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who is the presidential candidate of the PDP, and the PDP national chairman, Iyochayu, and other prominent PDP stakeholders were in Kano to receive him in the presence of a mammoth crowd who were said to have defied the rain to attend the ceremony of Shekaru's defection. But this is 3 months. Within 3 months, Shekaru has been hobnobbing with 3 political parties. First was 3 months ago when he dumped the APC after the political feud with the Kano State Governor, Ganduji. And as soon as he landed at the PDP, most political pundits were wondering how it will work out, because Shekaru and former Kano State Governor and the presidential candidate of the NNPP had never been friends at all. They had always been at loggerheads. Well, before we go into the main issue of the day, well, Silas, I think, what can you say about this defection of Shekaru? It shows how our politicians are very desperate. Because of that, they become political prostitutes, always looking for a party that will give them a favorable platform to actualize their own personal political interest.
I think you've you can't have you can Republicans. You have to believe so whatever they are looking for. It's not like Chicago. PDP.
So that we'll have enough time not just about Shakara.
What we are their interest. That means whatever they do. Their talks and political friends said
2023 meeting. We have a special guest. Human rights Olusegun Obasanjo. He paid a visit. Abdulsalami 2023 general election. In just denial of in what has been to be to and saying is always a maker of some sort season. Obasanjo spent Salami's house purpose of his visit. A national agenda. It's former Nigerian leaders. The major kingmaker. So do you think Nigerian politics coming Nigerians say anytime they see them of the military
and
post-colonial era. And the way it is, this election is very, very key and most challenging. So this is overheating the politics before campaign. Pending with then coming close to motion of religion in politics. Own. Agenda of President the unity of the and protect that the unpleasant conducive environment for the social media South geopolitical society.
Silas, let's look at is a person or group political, monetary, religious, and military means to influence succession. Originally, the term applied to the activities of Richard Neville, and command now. Obasanjo's visit to this other to London led him personally they would have discussed most and Obasanjo now going to Minna. Can you make out of that?
Know, there's something conducive towards and baby died. So who do you want to blame? The witch.
Yes.
So no, so it can. So the way you have narrated it, all points that okay, whatever he's going to discuss in Minna was, was a continuation of what happened in London and so. Well, because the motto that happened in London, apart from some semblance of speculations reported as facts and so on and so forth. Nobody. The only thing that's come out from that London is when Wike said we are there discussing national issues, interests. Obasanjo also said he's carrying pursue a national agenda. So every one of them is talking about the interests of Nigeria. They're not talking about their own personal interests and what they want to achieve for themselves, And in politics, it's personal interest first for politicians. Obasanjo can be looked from the prism of somebody who's coming from the outside, a former president, head of state, president, who has seen it all, going back after some years and became president. So he can talk about pushing a national agenda. And what is national agenda? Something that will help what Nigeria needs now. Something like can help to unite Nigeria, to move Nigeria forward. So whatever, that's what he says he's pursuing in another meeting. And not all the details, we said we should have patience that we should roll out whatever he's cooking for the nation. Well, he talked about kingmakers. I don't know how much of a king-making powers Obasanjo has. I know last election he backed Atiku against Buhari, okay, and they didn't win election, okay. In the past, there was also backed some people who won election, but there's this general belief in the country that the generals still in charge of the dark politics that most people don't see. I remember reading a report about how Atiku emerged as a PDP president candidate. When the die was cast and it appeared that if Wike would run away with the show, some generals were said to have intervened and swung every other person in Atiku's way so that he can emerge. So they still have a role to play because some of the politicians are still loyal to them. They still have some pull in the military. If the military don't and the security don't want them to emerge, they will find it, they will know how to scuttle it, and you don't know. They just do it, codedly because they know how to work in those, behind the scenes and pull the stunts, They have coercive, powers of state, and so they can still play, but I don't know. I cannot say how far they can go because with the election going to be electronic, whether they can command the hoi polloi, the masses of people to vote in a particular way, I don't think they have such proof. What I think they can do is to aggregate opinion towards, okay, fine,
this is who we think Nigerians
at this time they can give advice.
Perhaps that even explains why you see Obasanjo with the Labour Party president.
Yes, coming to Obasanjo, let me just stand with that. Well, I had the argument outside that.
Sorry to cut you short before we continue. Let's just quickly take a short break. And then we'll come back. You just cap it off. Okay. Well, let's just take a short break, hoping that by the time we return, Avias would have started contributing constructively to the conversation on the big issue. Don't go offline. We'll be back in a moment.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Yes.
Welcome back. We are still on the Big Issue in Leadership podcast. And of course, the big issue of the day is the meeting of the generals and Obasanjo's national agenda. Expectedly, Nigerians have been reacting to the meeting of the three generals and the tenuous influence they exert on the nation. While some agree that it is necessary, others have disagreed advertly. Said last you were somewhere
Yes.
You're talking about.
Yes, I was talking about Obasanjo being in London. I've had some arguments of someone who said, well, you cannot really know for sure what Obasanjo was doing, whether he was complaining for P2P, whether two of them travel together. The only thing I would saw took them in a what, in a photograph, and he was there, and Obi was there, and for him not to come and say he has a national agenda. No, even look at his national agenda. It might just be, if you're looking at the candidates that are on offer, the judge may be looking at it like, look, let us have a balance, a rotation, so that everybody will feel a sense of belonging in the country. That seems to be the only possible national agenda they can push. The one in APC say is my turn, and people like the leader of our said, look, we have had our share. President has been there for 8 years, vice president has been there for 8 years, so you cannot be saying it's our turn. Unless it's your turn as a person. So if pushing the person is my turn, that is the mantra of the APC man. Atiku is just coming. The committee coming from a northern president, and that's this already the power should to move from
the north to south.
So Atiku cannot be really saying it's his turn to be there, because for now the power is supposed to go to the south, and that's why the PDP is still having issues about who should be there. They have a candidate, but the support is getting, whether it is across board. So if Obasanjo is even pushing an Obi agenda, it's just more like the national agenda, because the power naturally is supposed to go to the south. And if you look at around the south, the south is gone. Jonathan has been from south. The only the south has not been there. And apart from that, you're having a candidate that stands head and shoulders above the other people in terms of credibility, in terms of his appeal to the world. Because for Nigeria to come out of the morass right now, we're going to have to need some international people helping us out, and they need people that are credible. And looking at the sense and the track record of APC man and Atiku, I don't think they have that credibility that can attract the international community to come to it with the P2P, with his austere, frugal lifestyle and international face. Look at everywhere he goes in the world. People are waiting for him in the country's capital to talk to him. You understand? So I listened to what my colleagues said about him. As always, look, this contest is about issues. I know, you know that a lot of young people are angry with the system in Nigeria. So some of them are venting it on social media. It doesn't have control of those people. He can say, please, make this point an issues-based campaign. He keeps saying it. Look, he's not in charge of those people. Some of them who are angry from the NSAS protest, who are looking at B as another face to show their anger to the system that is not working. And the country is so hard now that a lot of people are angry. So if you are blaming Udupe, I don't know whether you can blame Upi for people who are faceless, who are not even part of his campaign. And I've not seen them going to, people who say that Obi has sent them to go and attack anybody. They say, even when you insult Obi, he will talk to you calmly. So I don't think you should blame for that. The only thing can say, keep appealing to the people who are venting the anger to wrap that anger in the ballot paper and vote election day. That's the best, reaction they can make to the community that they don't like the way it is happening.
All right, Chief, we were talking about Obasanjo's national agenda, and of course, his meeting with the other former Nigerian leaders in Minna points to one thing. I think after consulting and even going to London to hold talks with certain key players in the Nigerian political landscape, like the presidential candidate of the Labour Party and River State Governor Nyesom Wike, and other former governors and serving governors, Obasanjo came back visiting them. Abdulsalami and Abibi, all former Nigerian leaders. And we are now beginning to wonder what Obasanjo's national agenda is. And Silas looked at it from the perspective that it would be an Obi agenda, since he was Obi, although he denied that he does not have a preferred candidate. But in the event where it is an Obi agenda, Silas is saying that there must be a certain level of justification for Obasanjo's choice of Obi, because Obi, as a Southerner, and not just a Southerner, from the Southeast, that is said to have been sidelined when it comes to the presidency. I think it's a job. So what is your own opinion on this?
I think we should look at this issue from a broader perspective. Obasanjo is a statesman. Obasanjo is an international personality. Obasanjo is a 3 times president in this country. And Obasanjo has seen it all, from the face of the good, from the face of the ugly, from the face of the crisis. He has seen it all. So if they go to him for consultation, it's not as if he's out of place. As an elder statesman, he is more experienced in governance, either in the era of military era or in the civil administration, when he came in 1999 as a democratically elected president on the platform of PDP. But you know, Obasanjo is one personality that has a funny character. And because of that, you cannot predict him. He's going to Minna, unfortunately coincided with the arrival of General Abdulsalami Abubakar from United Kingdom, who have just recovered from health. And it is morally right. He's a colleague, he's a former head of state, that the most senior, who is Obasanjo, even when they are in the military, is the most senior, should pay him that sympathy courtesy visit and identify with the progress of his health recovery. That is what he has gone to do there. Again, if you look at former President General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, they are just living close to one another. So there is no how Obasanjo want to pay homage to Abdulsalami, to look at his state of health and congratulate him for successful healing coming back to the country. They will not pay the same consequence and respects to former President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. So that is what he has gone to do, really. But outside that official or private engagement,
don't forget
the Nigerian state issues.
Don't forget that Obasanjo actually stated that the reason for that visit was to go a kind of condolence visit to Abdulsalami, who just came back from a medical trip. No, he stated it clearly. Obasanjo said that was
there is no condolence in the visit.
No, not condolence.
Sympathy visit.
A sympathy visit.
Yes.
He said he went for a sympathy visit.
That's what I've just repeated. That's what I've repeated here.
Good and fine. Obasanjo went there. We all know. It's like stating the obvious when you say that was the reason. Because Obasanjo said that is the reason why he went.
Of course.
But we are now saying that there's no smoke without fire.
No, I agree with you. I was coming to that phase.
Ordinarily,
yes.
After the visit, don't forget that in the two separate visits, he went into a closed door session with them, coming back and then told reporters that he has a national agenda, which he will unveil.
Let me tell you, the fear of unknown is why Chief Olusegun Obasanjo may have a national agenda. He has little or no influence in the democratic process because it is in the public view that he turned his membership card of PDP. So Obasanjo is no longer a party person. He's just on his own as former head of state and as a Nigerian personality who have tested governance and know where the truth pinches. And with the situation we have at hand, very deplorable situation at hand, he has to be up and doing because one is health is on his side. He has seen it all. The third leg agenda would be at the advent of this election not holding because of the intensive activities of insecurity, insurgency, and banditry. Then I told you the environment is being created enough conducive for the unexpected to come into the political landscape of Nigeria. The unexpected are perhaps military incursion into our governance. So it may be putting them on toes that at the event that the way this issue is going, if it's going to tear this country apart, it's better everybody should be on guard and agree who will come among the military men that will salvage the country, instead of allowing the country to go into chaos and pandemonium. And that should be his national agenda. Outside that, he cannot influence the electorate to vote for any preferred candidate as it is today. And I know that in one of his outings, when Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu said it, he did mention clearly that he going to support any of the candidates that is credible that can take Nigeria out of the digits we are now. He's going to support some candidates. And I know too very well that since this election has thrown up ethnicity and religion, everybody will prefer his own. But as a statesman, he will not come to the public to tell you that he has a preferred candidate. Because the Yoruba will tell him he's a bastard child of the house. If he now points to those who are not Yorubas, and he's the father of the Yorubas as it is, because after Awolowo, Obasanjo just resumed that position naturally as the father of the Yoruba nation. So that is the position as I know to the best of my knowledge.
Well, thank you, Chief, for that. And of course, I would have said let's go on and on to really look at the candidates. But I think it's not time yet because they say campaign has not started.
That's true.
But we're approaching September when the campaign starts properly. And that is when we'll begin to look at the presidential candidates and the antecedents.
And what they have in stock in terms of manifesto and plan program of action.
Well, this is where we should draw the curtain for today's edition of The Big Issue. We thank our viewers for keeping tab with us out there. And of course, our in-house analyst, Silas Ezogu, and our very special guest, Chief Abdullahi Mohammed Jabi, for actually taking that time out to come for this program and join in the conversation on the big issue. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.